My name is Scammell, and I'm the product manager with the 2D team. We're based out of Singapore. But I'd like to know more about who's here, everyone here. So how many of you are artists in the room? Who are the artists? OK, fantastic. And the coders? Programmers? Oh, very heavy. OK. And how many of you are already making 2D games? Already making 2D games? How many of you are hoping to make 2D games? You want to make 2D games? OK, great. How many of you have tried the new 2D features in 5.6? 5.6? OK. And who has explored 2017.1 beta? OK, cool. Excellent. OK, so today I'd like to give you an update about the 2D features in Unity, tell you about what we've released, what's coming soon, and what's in development, so you can plan for the future. But most important, I'm here to invite you to become more involved in the development of the tools and to help us improve our 2D toolset so that you have something really cool to work with. And we're going to spend a lot of time in Unity itself looking at the tools, but of course there's going to be a few slides, right? So let's start with what's already been released. Okay, these are features that have been released with Unity 5.6. So with Unity 5.6, there was quite a lot of new 2D features. One of the big ones was 9-slice. So for this is a 2D technique which allows you to reuse parts of a texture, parts of an image, at various sizes without needing to prepare multiple assets. So you basically split the image up into 9 different slices, hence the name. And then when you resize the sprite, we're going to be resizing the different sections accordingly, right? So you can break this out, you can stretch this out, and the corners will not scale. The edges will scale only along the appropriate axis. So this is useful if you're trying to fill up an area with a texture, like maybe you're trying to make a wall or a pattern or a floor. The other thing we added was the ability to edit the outline of your generated sprite, right? So here, for example, we've got a sprite that's come in, and you want to add and remove points, you want to refine the mesh, and you can make this as simple or as detailed as you want. So one of the major reasons for doing this is you want to adjust that outline so that you can get a good balance between alpha overdraw and also accuracy of the mesh, right? Polygon count. A big part of the 5.6 release was sorting. So we actually have different ways that you can sort things. So we had the sorting group component, which allows you to alter the order in which the sprite renderers do their rendering. So this is really important. If you have a bunch of renderers together and you want them always to be rendered in order, you want to add them all to a sorting group. So we did this as a component. A good example of this is a character. So if you see the creatures at the bottom, each of the segments are a different sprite, and you want to make sure they're always rendering together as a group. So if you have a few of them, you want to have them rendering as a group on top of each other. The reason you have the sprites separate is, of course, because you're doing animation. Another kind of sorting that we added was the axis distance sort. So here we've got even more of those creatures. And what we're looking at here is the rendering order, right? So the renderers in Unity are typically sorted by things like order in layer or distance from camera. Now, a common use case in 2D games is you want the renderers that are above to be rendering behind the renderers that are below. So the axis distance sort feature adds the ability to organize, to order these renderers along an arbitrary axis. So you define a sort mode, which is custom, and then you define a axis, okay? And that will allow you to create this kind of sorting very easily. It was also a good version for physics 2D features. We added a lot of good stuff there. We added a contacts API. So if you need more information on how two colliders are interacting, the contacts API will give you that. If you look at the top picture here, we're looking at the composite collider 2D. So this will merge the shapes of any box collider or polygon collider 2D that you set it up to use. And then you can just work with that immediately. So the collider gets generated from those shapes. We added an edge radius property that controls radius, the radius around edges, right? So this is for vertices. This will create vertices that are essentially circular. Now, distance method also was added. This allows you to calculate the minimum distance between two objects. This is a common thing you want to do in games. And all of the particle collision code has been rewritten in SimD. All of the code, collision code in 2D was rewritten in SimD to give a really nice performance boost. So that's what's out now. So what I'd like to spend some time showing you in the editor is some of the stuff that's coming really soon, as well as some of the features that are in development. Okay, so the Sprite Atlas. So atlasing is a critical part of 2D development, of game development in general. And the Sprite Atlas is going to replace the current Sprite Packer. How so, right? So it's going to make this texture packing that everyone needs to do friendlier, faster, and more versatile. You will basically be able to pack individual sprites, multi-slice textures, as well as just a folder, right? Because maybe you've organized your project that way. You'll also have more control over texture settings. This is something that I know a lot of people wanted. And you can decide how that generated atlas actually gets into your game. And we've solved the variance problem for atlases by adding a variant type. So we're going to see some of this in action now. So let's take a look at Sprite Atlases first. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a bit so you guys can see what I'm doing. The first thing I want to show you is the Sprite Atlas asset. So now, if you want to make, this is 2017.1, by the way. If you want to make an atlas in Unity, you just hit Create Sprite Atlas. Okay, so we're going to make a few here. I'm going to call this one Atlas E1. Let's make a few. And I'm going to show you here in the inspector what it is. Right? So there's a type. You can see there's different types of packing. You can set up your texture settings here. Right? So you have all that control. And then my favorite bit is the packing, which is really convenient. So let's say I just want to pack some loose sprites. I'll just drag them over here. OK. I'm not doing anything else. Just going to do a pack preview, and there we go. All packed in an atlas already. OK, but let's say that I'm trying to work with sliced textures, and I want to be able to access those. I can just drag that directly, do a pack preview, and there's the sliced texture, all packed up. And then finally, I've got a whole folder of sushi here, right? Why am I doing this one by one? Let's go here, drag in all of this sushi, and do a pack preview. OK, easy, right? These are the kind of changes that we've been developing based on feedback from our users, right? Because these are the workflows that you wanted. These are the ease of use features. Let's look at a more involved example with atlases. Okay, this one's a little bit more complicated, so I've got to explain what we're doing. Anyone recognize this guy? Okay, so this one's a bit more complicated. What we're going to do in this is we're going to create variants from an asset, from a Sprite Atlas. We're going to make a lower res variant. We're also going to add it to an asset bundle. And then at runtime, we're going to access that asset bundle, pull out the atlas that we want, and then we're going to pick only the sprites we need from it. So I'm doing this partly to show you the variants and also to show you the new APIs that we have around Sprite Atlases. So how are we doing this? OK, so let's dig in. First of all, we have an atlas named Potato, right? So the Potato Atlas is what we call a master atlas. And we've set up some options here for the texture settings. But what we want to do is we want to create a variant. So here we've got the variant. Okay, it's just a normal atlas, nothing different, except we've named it potato.sd. And what we've done here is we've changed the type from master to variant, and we point it at a master atlas, right? So we're going to make it a variant of potato. Now, one of the key things here is the scale, right? So this variant is going to create 1/10 scale of the previous atlas. And I'm changing the filter mode to point just so that we can see this more clearly in the example. So it's going to look pixelated. So maybe that's a design choice. That's fine too. OK, so what do we do with this? So let's look right down here. We've added the atlas to an asset bundle, right? Nice and simple. And then with those asset bundles built, right, and they've been placed here in the streaming assets folder, right? Here are our asset bundles. I'll zoom in again. Right, here they are. OK, so that's the setup. Now, what does this scene look like? If we break it apart and actually zoom in on these parts. So we've got Potato Man, this guy, and he's built of 2 sections, props and body. And each of these has a dress me up async script. Okay, and this is where the kind of magic happens. Let's take a look at this script. So dress me up async. Here we go. It's a good thing there are lots of programmers in the room. So what we did is we went through the asset bundle. We loaded the Sprite Atlas out of that, right, based on the atlas name and variant. And then we're going through each of the children in these transforms, and we're doing this, right? We're doing atlas get sprite. So this is a really cool way of accessing sprites in atlases, which was also a huge request from our users. So now you can do that quite easily. Great. And then, of course, we replace the sprite renderer sprite with the sprite that we got from the atlas. So what happens when I hit play? Set it all up, and there we go. We now have a variant rendering for each of those sprite renderers instead of the sprite that is on it. So this way, you can set up your games to support many different platforms. You can pull different asset bundles based on what you've got, and you can actually get at the sprites themselves in the atlases. Cool. So let's switch gears. This is the sprite mask. Sprite masks are a way for you to reveal or hide certain parts of sprites or groups of sprites. They work with sprite renderers as well as particle systems at the moment. So let's see a couple of examples of the sprite mask in use. This one here, for example, is being used in a card game. Let's see it in Unity, and let's see how it's set up. So here we're going to look at a very simple sprite mask. Okay? Here we've got Rory the lion, and what we want to do is we want to mask him inside a frame, right? We just want him to be inside a frame. So this is really easy with the new sprite mask feature. If we look here, we've got Rory, right, which is just a simple sprite renderer, and then we've got sprite mask. So the sprite mask component, it just sits there, and it uses a sprite. And to make other sprites interact with it, to make them be affected by it, we just changed the mask interaction. So here we're going to change it to visible inside mask. And this is the effect we want, right? So now by moving the mask around, you can create all sorts of effects for your games, right, where you want to mask out sprites. And of course, yeah, you can move Rory around inside. Great. So you can do visible inside mask or visible outside mask if you wanted to do that, if that was an effect that you needed. Let's look at a slightly more detailed example of a sprite mask. Let's look at a scoped sprite mask. Okay. So here we've got Rory again. He's put on his glasses because he's ready to party. But we need to change them into proper party glasses. So we want to put a sprite inside each side of his glasses. Now let's build this up. Let's see. We've got the sunglasses. We've got the frames. We've got the effect that we want to show on either side. Now, if I was to turn this on, Right, I want to put a nice swirl inside his glasses, but of course they're not masked, right? And there's another problem. Because the sprites are both overlapping, you're going to see the sprites in either side, right? And they're going to be overlapped in a single mask. So what we're going to do is we're going to make two masks, and then we're going to scope them so that they only mask out a certain group of sprites. And the way we do this is, first of all, let's give each of these things a mask interaction. So we make it visible inside, and we make it visible inside. And then we go back to our sorting groups, and we make sure that everything within this group is rendered together. So if you remember, sorting groups are used to control the order of renderers. So let's do a sorting group here, and a sorting group here. And now you can see Rory's got his glasses nicely framed. Yeah? So that's lovely. What if I want to add a bit more splash to this? I want him to have particle systems in each eye, right? So I'm going to turn on one over here and turn on one over here. So that's great. But also now I've got the particles going outside his eyes. So if we dig into the particle system renderer component, and let's zoom in, and maybe a bit more, okay? And we look at the renderers for the particle systems, you'll see that we now have masking, right? So let's change that to visible inside mask as well. And let's check it out. Awesome. Okay, so if I hit play, I can see the final effect here. Okay, Rory's good to party. There we go. So that is the sprite mask, right? This is a really powerful way of masking out parts of the scene that you don't want. Now, the last demo I want to show you today is also in the next version with Physics Shape Editor. So as you saw in 5.6, you can edit the outline of the sprite itself, the polygons themselves. With the Physics Shape Editor, you can change the shape of the generated collider. So this is really useful when you need to have more refinement over what kind of polygon collider gets applied to objects. So if you look at the trees here, we can see that's not really the kind of polygon shape you want to work with. So let's see what we can do about that. Okay, so let's take a look at these trees. Let's zoom in. Now, if you can see the green outline, that represents the shape that the polygon collider 2D is going to try to use for collision, right? And you can see it's a little bit uneven. It has vertices in places where you don't want it to have them. Let's simplify this, right? So what we do is we go into tree A, asset. Let's open that. I'm going to click on the sprite editor here. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to switch this over to alpha mode. You don't have to do this, but because we're on these projectors, I want you guys to be able to see it more clearly. And this is the new mode here. Edit physics shape. Okay, edit physics shape. And there we can see all those vertices that we don't want. All right, let's change that up a bit. So we can do automatic generation here. That's probably not going to get you what you need for this shape. So I'm going to turn it all the way down and get the simplest possible shape, but I still want manual control. So I can go into the points here, and I can actually edit those. Oops. There we go. Okay, we're not going for perfection. I can add new points if I want to, like this. All right, just going to move those around a bit. Maybe something like this. Okay, and then I don't need this one anymore, so I just hit delete, and that's gone. Okay, that's much better. I'm going to hit apply on this. Let's get out of the sprite editor. Let's go back to the trees. I'm going to select all of them, and I'm just going to reset their polygon collider 2D. And there we go. So much better, right? These are going to be more efficient. They don't have to be so So dense, and there's a lot more, it's a lot more even. Okay, and when we play that, yep, that's doing exactly what we want it to do. Okay, great. So tile map. This is a feature that we've been working on for a while, and this is coming out really soon as well. Really happy about that. The tile map is our solution for grid-based world building. How many of you are making games on a grid, like your 2D games are on a grid? Excellent. Okay, cool. You're going to love the tile map. So it's based on the idea of tiles and brushes, and it simplifies a lot of the workflows associated with designing tile-based games. That you get optimized rendering performance, and of course the tiles that are off-screen get culled as necessary. So this is really good. But a really powerful aspect of the tile map is the idea of programmable tiles as well as custom brushes. So these are tiles that you can program to act a certain way, and brushes for painting certain things in your levels. So let's take a look at a demo project that showcases all of these features in action. This is a project called RoboDash, and this is available for you to download and try out if you'll come to our forums and check out the experimental builds. So I'll give you a link for that later as well. But let's take a look at RoboDash in action. So as you can see, thank you. So as you can see, a lot of the brushes and the tiles in there, we're really excited about how that stuff worked, right? So we're making it really easy for the designers to kind of lay out levels, to kind of think about placement in this kind of form. So this is the experimental preview 4 that was released some time ago. Download it at this URL. It's got the entire project as well as links to the experimental build that you will need to run that project. So make sure you get the build, and then make sure you get the project, and try out tile map. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff we have in development. Smart Sprite. So this is another one of our world building tools. This is a solution for more organic spline-based layouts. The idea here is that you'll be able to automatically tile sprites along a spline and define angles to kind of auto-select these sprites. So you'll be able to do more fluid workflow, more fluid level design. This is for more organic shaped levels. So if you're not doing a tile-based game, then this feature is going to be for you. When we get this to the right point, we're going to be putting out a preview for this as well. Please do the same thing as you've done with tile map. Check it out and let us know. Character animation tools. So we've finally started development on a suite of character animation tools. And this is going to bring 2D skeletal animation right into Unity. You can do fast bone creation. You can generate geometry for skinning. And this is built in the sprite editor itself. So all of this is in development right now. Again, we will tell you more as we have more. Okay, so I'd like to share a little bit before I close for today about how we work and why we're reaching out to you. So we work on tools based on a couple of criteria, right? We check what's missing from our current tool set, but we're not making games, right? You're making games. And we want to make sure that we're building what you need, what our community needs. So we need this communication with you. So we listen to you on the forums. I hope you're all really active on the forums. We'll visit you at your studios, as you know, as some of you know. And we'll create previews like you've seen today. So we absolutely need your feedback. So please grab these previews, let us know early what we're doing. This is the link for the experimental preview. So this is where you want to go. This is where we're going to be putting up all of the new features while we're working on them. And then I want to talk about what you can do specifically. All right? So let us know what's working. I know this is kind of obvious, but usually when something's working, it becomes quiet, and that's good. So no news is good news. But if it's working for you, we want to know, and we want to know like how to improve it as well, right? Because we don't want to just stop there. Of course, let us know what's missing, because sometimes a small feature for you is going to be a big feature for other teams, and that can be very useful. Let us know what's broken. You're already doing this, so thank you very much. Keep doing it. Don't stop. We want to make things better. Of course, improvements, enhancements, your ideas are always welcome. We want to know more. This is quite important, maybe a subtle difference, but let us know your 2D development workflows as well, because we want to know where a feature would fit into a workflow. So please share those with us, again, on the forums or in the experimental preview forums. And finally, and most importantly, keep making awesome 2D games in Unity. Thank you very much.